Hello and welcome back to the Be a Better You podcast. I am your host, Allison K. Dagny, and I have something really interesting to talk to you about today that is all about the brain. Now, the brain is so fascinating to me, and I study and learn about it so that I can not only help me, but also help other people recover from their emotional abuse and trauma while using what's right inside of them, right? So we are already equipped with everything that we need to heal. We just need to know how to use the tool that we have inside of us. So I wanted to share a story with you. The other day, our smoke detector started to beep one morning, and my boyfriend and I, we jump out of bed and we try to figure out which one it was throughout the house that was alerting us to the low battery. Well, when we figured out which one it was, I went to go get some 9-volt batteries and a ladder to change it. Now, here's the part that I find so interesting. So I grab the batteries, I'm climbing up the ladder, I take off the cover of the smoke detector, and then I take the battery out. Well, I don't know if you ever did this as a kid, but I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, and if one of my little 9-volt batteries, wasn't working or my toys weren't working, and we didn't actually have a battery tester, so we used our tongues. I don't know even who taught me this, but we would put the metal part on our tongue to see if the battery was good or not. And as I looked down at this old battery, I thought, I should lick this to see if it works, right? That was just like the instinct that I had to see if this is actually right, because what if I pull it out and it's actually not this particular smoke detector that was beeping? Well, if you're like, I've never heard of this before. Well, you're not alone, because my boyfriend said the same thing when I told him about that. I was like, yeah, you just stick it on your tongue, and if it stings, then you know it's good. Well, stay with me because there's a point to this story. Anyway, I didn't lick the battery, but just the thought of putting those metal rings on my tongue was enough to actually feel the sting of it on my tongue. Like I could feel it just by thinking about it and remembering it. So when you put the positive and negative elements of that battery on your tongue, it has this weird like stinging feeling. It's not like super painful, but you can definitely tell. And it's a weird feeling, but if you've ever done it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I didn't even have to put it there to feel it. I was just looking at the battery and thinking about it, and then I could feel it. I could feel the actual sting on my tongue. So, I told my boyfriend and he was like, where did you learn this? And we just had a little laugh about it, and why I used my tongue as a battery tester when I was a kid. But it is what it is, and it was what it was. So if you have never tested, or I should say tasted, a battery like this before, well, maybe it was something else for you, right? Like thinking of a bright yellow lemon that you cut open and bite into, or maybe thinking about putting a Sour Patch Kid candy into your mouth, right, can immediately cause your salivary glands to start acting up. So this thought creates a physical response. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is because your brain remembers the sensations for you. So even just the thought of it is giving you the same physical response as when you recalled it. So this kind of thing happens to people in dreams. Like dreams can feel really, really, really real. And so real that sometimes we can wake up in a sweat, or we could be screaming because we were running from a monster, right? So we know that dreams are not 3D reality. Yet inside the dream, we can see things. We can hear things and even feel things. Think about like if you've ever read a book, you can be brought to tears by words on a page, right? Or watch a scary movie that you know is just actors and people, like a made up storyline, and feel your heart racing in fear. But none of these things are real, not a single one of them. This is the power of your brain. And the most interesting thing that I think about the brain is that it has no way to determine reality from imagination. Your brain, that organ between your ears, cannot tell the difference between something you think about and something you actually experience in the 3D world. And this is a really difficult concept for a lot of people to grasp, simply because we spend so much time in both the real and imagined worlds, right? Because we're inside of our own minds thinking and imagining things, but we're also humans in a 3D world. So most of the time we aren't even consciously aware that we're living in both real and imagined states like at the same time. And we can't tell the difference. So how in the world can we expect our brains to, right? When our brain isn't even supposed to function that way. And it's true, right? That our five senses can ground us in the present moment. Maybe you've heard of people say, like, if you're experiencing anxiety, how to like look at something you can see and find something you can touch. And is there something you can hear or something you can taste, right? So like finding the things externally can help ground you in the present moment for like reality. So the senses are helping us to determine what's real and what isn't. But as you probably know, our minds can play tricks on us and deceive us too, right? And it's not happening on purpose for like some malintent. It's happening because the brain doesn't know if it's a real thing of the 3D world or something else. I remember when my son got a virtual reality set and I'd never used it before. And so we were playing around on Google Earth at first. And even though I was sitting firmly in a chair that I could feel beneath me, under my legs, when I zoomed out into outer space, looking at this small Earth from like millions of miles away, I felt like I was going to fall. I was really scared. And I was like, get this thing off of me right now. Like where I would fall, I don't know, because like you can't actually fall in space, but I still had this like panic about it. And I wanted to get back to Earth, right? Which wasn't even real, that I was looking at immediately. Well, another time that I used it in a game with my son, and you could fly through these rooms and these corridors, and there was like different things that you could do, and you could grab balls and throw balls and stuff. It was really interesting, but after about 15 minutes, I had to stop because I was becoming physically dizzy. I was standing in my living room with my feet on the carpeting, but my mind believed that I was flying, turning, moving through thin air, so naturally, I got nauseous, right? So these stories are to show you the power of your mind, right? You are so very powerful because you are in control of your mind. You are not being controlled by your mind. You are the one that has all the power. You are the one driving the ship, unless you aren't. Now, here's what I mean by this. A lot of people, probably most, are in an awakened sleep, right? So like conscious but unconscious, living below the veil or on autopilot, if you will. And they have no idea. Like zombies, right? Just going about their days, following the programming of the past with no understanding they're even doing it. Reacting out of emotion, behaving out of habit, things like that. And I will say it loudly. I am not fully awake yet either, but I'm working on waking up every single day. Lots of areas I am fully awake, but others I'm still slumbering, right? But the important thing is I have awareness about it, and it takes intention and practice to change. It's when you have no awareness that you are stuck. So just listening to this can help you shift, because now you know that all you need to do is wake up and start to question things. Question why you behave certain ways, why you have certain habits, why you say things like you do, why you think what you think, and why you believe what you believe. You have to question it all to wake up. And when I mean wake up, what I really mean is getting to a state of peace and contentment. So if your brain can make you believe that you're being chased by a monster in your dreams, if it can give you nausea while standing in your living room because your virtual reality headset makes you think you're flying, and if you can taste the sting of a battery or the sourness of a lemon with just a thought, what makes you think you can't change how you feel using that exact same power of your mind? There have been studies done with paraplegic and quadriplegic victims, or patients, I guess I should say, using virtual reality to allow them to see their feet standing on a beach and help rehabilitate them to actually change their brains because of neuroplasticity. If you aren't using your brain to help you heal from emotional trauma, I'd love to ask you, why not? We know how powerful it is. There's proof, there's science behind it. And we know the brain can change with new learning. I think we should all be using it, don't you? All right, so I really hope this bit has been helpful and enlightening and gave you some pause or at least a little bit of reflection. And the next time that you need to change your smoke detector battery or cut up a lemon, give this a try. Think about tasting it and see if you can feel it like I did. Thank you so much for being here and listening and being part of my community. I also want to remind you that you can join the Radiate and Rise community for just $33 a month for online community support, a safe, secure space with two 1-hour monthly coaching calls inside, plus weekly trainings, tools, healing techniques to help you stay accountable for your healing journey. So thank you so much, and I will talk to you guys next week.